Welcome back to another episode with today with Stacy at The Advisor. And I today have a very incredibly special guest. He's the legendary figure in comedy. He's known for his raw, unfiltered, and absolutely hilarious approach to the world. From the iconic appearances on Howard Stern show to his countless stand-up gigs across the country, he has audiences far and wide. But behind the laughter, there is a story of resilience, overcoming chronic pain, and getting back on track. Everyone, please welcome the irrepressible Reverend Bob Levy. It's a
Thank you,
pleasure to
Steve.
have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. It was nice seeing you and your husband the other night. It was like a good time. You know what I mean? It was nice to be out there. It was a fun place, and it was a good show. We got to talk after, and it was like there's so much stuff to talk about.
It's funny, we connected really well. It was like we've known each other for years. It was really cool.
That's what pain does to you. Pain will do that, because you want anyone that has pain wants somebody to pain and listen to them. Somebody that doesn't have pain does not want to listen to you when you have pain. That's the
It's
worst thing you can do is bring up that you're in pain again to somebody you're not in pain. That's not in pain. They do not like that.
no, well, people could relate to you, so they know what's going on. They know how you feel, and they understand.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been it's tough having a day, after a while that you don't feel good at all. You never feel good, and you make it the best of it, of what you can do, what you have, and that's what you should do in life anyway. But
Exactly.
it's not easy when you're used to not having pain. Then all of a sudden it's a daily thing and you're like, this is not fun.
Right. No, definitely. Now, Bob, can you take us back to the beginning? What inspired you to get into comedy in the first place?
Well, I used to play in bands and then you had to have, you had other people involved and you had to practice when they wanted to kind of practice. And it got to be too much. And we were like 18. We wanted to be at the shore, and go and enjoy life and that. So, all of a sudden, we used to listen to Howard Stern, for years, and I was like, what am I going to do? And then after landscaping for a while, it's hard work. That's like 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then you spend it all drinking on Saturday or whatever. Yeah, you wanted to spend it on. And it was tough. And we listened to Howard and the bar that we used to hang out in Staten Island. We used to everyone used to get into fights, with other bars and that, and see who had the toughest bar. And like, if anybody came into our bar that we didn't know, my job was to make fun of them so they would want to fight us. So I guess I was pretty good at that. And my friend goes, "You should try the open mic. Jackie the Joke Man's hosting it at Rascals," and that was like 1986 or eight. I think it was 86 actually, and we started going down there once a week, and it went from there. And that's Jackie gave me the nickname because I was really dirty, and I couldn't get out of a hole if I dug a hole. Now I like to dig a hole just to get out of it. I want to see the audience's reaction. But it
Right.
went from there, and then I was headlining after 2 years, and it was like it was fun. And then I ended up getting on the Howard Stern show in 2002.
Wow. What were some of your influences growing up?
In comedy, not much, just from watching basically Sanford and Son, Good Times, All in the Family, like shows like that, that were really funny in that. And there was a lot in the 80s too, like Night Court was great there. They even brought it back. Why? Come up with a different idea. Have it like Afternoon Court or something. Taxi was one of the funniest shows. Barney, like there was so many great shows.
Yeah, definitely. Now you had some, amazing, memorable moments, especially on the Howard Stern show. What are some of the most cherished memories from those days?
Well, the roasts were fun, and just sitting in there anytime was good. And but winning the meanest listener contest, that's what we just roasted people. That was insane. Like the stuff that we were getting away with on regular radio then, I couldn't believe I was able to say what I was doing, and without getting bleeped and that. But you did have a little bit of a push on stuff. and it was
Yeah,
great. It went on for like weeks, and it was a great way to start off.
right. Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. Yeah. No, that was like iconic, you know, that I assume that's where you really got your, you know, your name really popped was when you got on the Howard Stern show.
oh yeah, there's nothing like that. You know, that was bigger than any talk show at night or anything like that. Being on Howard or Opie and Anthony was a big thing. It would help with the comedy gigs for sure.
Yeah. Now, are there any particular gigs or shows that stand out in your career that really made an impact on you?
A lot of them. We've done some. I did a lot with Artie Lange that were just insane. You know, 5,000 people, 3,000 people in Vegas, and that was just insane. Like the party, it was a party from the time you got onto the plane till you got home. It was insanity. It was like comedians, like rock stars.
Right.
Because you were out of your mind. The audience was drinking, they were on drugs, you were drinking, you were on drugs. It was the perfect disaster, as you could say.
But I'm sure you don't regret any of it.
No, you can't. It's like a lot of the stories I may not remember, but that's what makes those times pretty amazing.
Oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Now, every success story has its share of obstacles. Now, you've been through some big challenges in your life and that you faced in your career. You know, what are some of the challenges that you faced?
Well, there's a lot in this business. Like even getting old is not good for this business. For some reason, it's like, look, I never really tried to get on TV shows anyway. I do what I do. I
Right.
enjoy being dirty or whatever the hell you want to call it. It works for me. So
Right.
it doesn't matter. But it's like drugs will mess you up for sure. And once I stopped, I got off drinking and that, and I went to the my doctor, and I'm like, I'm not drinking anymore, but I feel like a little nervous before I go on stage. And then he's
Yeah.
like, here, just take these are Xanax, and they'll calm you down. You won't. 10 years later, I'm out of my mind on it. I'm on 3 bars a day he's given me, probably because he's a fan, which is crazy to give somebody that much. But it
Yeah.
was, you go from feeling good, you go from like, this is great, this is the greatest thing in the world,
Yeah.
to, you're a dictator. You turn into a dictator. If anybody goes against you, they are done because they are wrong. You are right all the time. It totally changes everything in your mind. And to
Right.
try to get off of them is incredible because you can only get the medicine to get off of the Xanax
Right.
only in prison or in rehab.
Right.
You can't get that from your regular doctor that they give you so you don't die trying to get off it. Usually they give you, it's like I think they give it to alcoholics too, whatever the medicine is. And it's like a 5-day thing where they start high and then they cut, and then you're off. You're done by then, but you're going to be safe. And you
Yeah.
have the nurses around you, like, and it's the only safe place you can do it, to go to rehab. I don't recommend going to prison, jail for that, but I would say rehab is the place to go, and a lot of people fail there. It's like you're going to find tons of people that are going to be there for anywhere from 4 to 8 times back and forth because their family wanted them to, a judge wanted them to. They never did it for themselves. Like when I went there, they were like, who thinks they're never coming back?" And I raised my hand. And the guy's like, "Yeah," and he's laughing at me because he's like, "Yeah, we all thought that." And I'm like, "No, I'm just here to get off Xanax." Like I had no idea how horrible it is for people to try to get off this stuff. But my thing was, after you go through the withdrawals and stuff like that, you want to get off it. It's the craziest thing. Like I remember, I would see like heaven and I would see hell. It all depends. When I was waiting for pills, when I ran out because I took too much, I'd be like, I didn't have them for the weekend, and I'm flipping out all night. And then I see the clock, 11 o'clock, it's opening, right? She's going to go get my medicine. It's 10 to 11. I look up, it's 20 to 11. I'm like, there's no way. Like, this is what happens in your mind. It makes you crazy. This stuff is the devil. And everybody thought it was a safe thing. It was going to help everybody out. It ruined so many people. You know, if I would have continued with that, forget about it. I couldn't even imagine what would be going on. It was the craziest stuff that, totally controls you. And to get off it, when I went to rehab, I stayed a week. They were like, well, if they want you to stay more, they want to make money or whatever. I get that and that. And they're like, we're going to put you in a halfway house and we're going to find you a job. And I'm like, I got a job. I probably got an easy job. To me, you know what I mean? I don't even
Yeah.
consider this work, what I do.
Right. Yeah.
And they're gonna find me a job, and I'm like, no, I got dogs. I have to go home. It was like
Yeah.
crazy, like trying to. And they go, if you can leave now, but we'll call the cops on you. And it was that kind of stuff that it's like, wait a minute, they go, you signed yourself in. And then I was just such an ass there that they actually go, come on, you're leaving, sign yourself out. They walk me out, and somebody picked me up on a corner, like. It's like Breaking Bad with the Saul guy that would send the people like to get rid of people so they can hide in the woods and that stuff. Like somebody just come, it's crazy, but they come, they'll come and get you with a van, nice car, whatever. But it's a business, and it's more what I noticed about rehab from that one. It was a good one. I'm not going to deny it, but it was more like, uh, it was more like about, church than anything else, you know?
Right.
And, like, some people didn't understand it, like, I'm not a big church person, but,
Yeah.
religion stuff, but it was all about God and all this, and I was like I told some they go, "I don't get what they're saying," and I go, "Just replace God with me, and then
Yeah.
with they're talking to you, whatever." And that, and like the step thing, like I never got that. I didn't get it. I just knew get off it. I don't. I'm gonna go apologize to people. Why? So I can piss them off again later. But like I was more destructive on me than most anyone else. I think.
Yeah, I know, one of the biggest problems is a lot of these doctors, they write these prescriptions out like they're candy. And
Yeah.
you're only supposed to be on these medications, I think the maximum of 6 months, no more for some of them, and
Well.
every medication is different. But a lot of these, people like, I knew when I was having trouble sleeping, I tried every natural thing on the planet and nothing
Yeah.
was working. And then my doctor wrote me on a prescription for Ambien, and
Yeah.
I got addicted to that stuff.
Oh yeah.
If I knew if the bottle was coming to the bottom, I get really nervous. I was like, oh my God, I got to get more Ambien. I'm not going to be able to go to sleep at night. And when I
Mhm.
tried to get off of it and I looked to see how to get off of it, the only thing that popped up on the internet was rehabs. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm like, this isn't good. You know,
No. Yeah,
most,
when you seen, the little bit of a bottle, you would flip out, but when you first got it, it was like the ice cream truck was coming when you were a kid. You had this big bottle full, and you're like, "Oh," it was like, the happiest thing. That's how controlling it is,
yeah,
and if that's one thing. You don't misplace your pills, that's one thing, and if you do, you will do it once, and you'll almost have a heart attack.
yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. And trying to get off of it is like hell, and a lot of times, a lot of these drugs, if you try to get off of it yourself and you get off of it too quickly, your body could shut down and you could just die, drop dead right
Yeah.
then and there.
Yeah, you can have a stroke, whatever, and people don't realize, people that's been through it realize that once you go and you get done in rehab and you are off it, well, however you get off it, you get off it, but you are like you're not going to feel normal because what the problem is you are feeling normal and you have no idea what normal is anymore. To you
Right.
it's being in your brain, it's being high or whatever and numbing everything in your brain, and that's what
Yeah.
it does. It basically it's like you get shot by a quaalude or something like that from a gun. It's like it just knocks you out, and but you don't know that's the life now.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Now,
And it
how,
takes years also. It takes years to get back to that normal feeling that you have, that you once had, that like it, like you're like, what is this feeling? And you're like, oh my God, I'm finally made it back to that. And
yeah,
it's a whole thing, new thing that opens up everything to you. Like you will notice little things, like I was telling, like birds in the backyard, and I notice I'm sitting down there listening, and I'm like, this is amazing, this is
right.
amazing, because I wouldn't think like that anymore. I wouldn't
Yeah.
think like that.
For many, you got to redefine yourself, and you got to figure out who the real Bob is. Who is the
Yeah.
what's the real norm for yourself? You know, it's like because the life you were living isn't working anymore. So all of a sudden, you got to figure out, who am I? What do I want for myself? And that's a hard thing to do because you kind of have to
Yeah.
strip your identity away for a little while and figure out who you are inside, and then redefine that whole person and create that person that it's going to make you happy as a individual.
Yeah, and my wife now, she was dealing with me, probably some at my worst, right? And she's seen something good in me, even though I wasn't, I was just, I had no feelings. It
Right.
takes away everything,
Yeah. Hmm.
it takes away everything on you. And then she called up, like we were trying to get Artie. We got Artie in rehab, right, with Steve
Right.
Trevor Lease from 1015, a great friend. And then my wife called up Steve and said, he's got to go. He's got to go. And, she was like, I got pissed one day. I took like eight of them, 8 bars. And, she had to basically carry me to the car to bring me to the hospital, like, and it was crazy. And I'm like, I'm just repeating myself over and over. I guess what you do anyway on those things. But and then the next day they came and got me because I come home. Then I come home from rehab, right? And I see the front door is off, like the screen door, like whatever, the glass, it's off, right? It's gone. And then I come in and I see all pliers and all that, and I'm like, I hit up my son. I go, what did you do? And he goes, that was you. You did that. You were trying to fix the door in the wind, and you just pulled it off, and you were all messed up, out of my mind. Like, and it's like that's insanity when you can't remember stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's more common than you think. Most people, like when we're going through life, we
Yeah,
use these, to help us cope with stuff. And even like being a celebrity like yourself, it's not as pretty as it looks. There's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of pressure out there, and how did you manage to stay motivated and push through it all? Because, I noticed one thing when I was working for NBC, it
uh
looks so pretty in front of the camera, but
yeah,
everybody behind the camera had a real life and was going through real trauma. And
oh yeah,
life wasn't so pretty behind the camera, but they made it look pretty, while you were in front of the camera. When they
hmm,
said the action, then that totally different personality came out, the one that people wanted to see. But
yeah,
behind cameras, people had a real life and they had struggles, obstacles,
oh
things they
yeah.
were going through. And with everything you were going through, how did you stay motivated and how did you push through the rough times that you went through,
Well,
like
you
rehab?
had to, you love what you do, even though it's not the greatest business, you really can't trust many people. And, everybody seems like they're out for themselves, but there's no reason for that. If you're good, you're going to work and all that. But people don't think that way, it's
Yeah.
all of the me stuff. So, but nobody in the audience cares if I don't feel good. If something bad happened to me in a day, you have to change it when you go on stage. That's the bottom line. And nobody want to hear you piss and moan up there. And they came to have a good time. You have to give them a good time. You
Right.
have to, no matter what. No
Yeah.
matter what. And to hide whatever is going through you, it's just the way it is. You have
Yeah.
to shine.
And you went through like a hard time where you developed a lot of chronic pain. What
Mm.
caused all that chronic pain. What's the story behind your health condition that completely changed your life? Because you went from, thriving, and then all of a sudden, your condition came over you, and then all of a sudden life changed once again. Your life got, thrown and tumbled into a totally different direction.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is that the pills actually was the first big accident that happened in my life. You know what I mean? That really messed me up. I was not where needed to be for many years because
Yeah.
of that.
Mhm.
And, and the way I acted and whatever from it and that. And then I got into a car. Was sitting at a red light. I got hit by somebody drunk on pills, probably. He was
Yeah.
on like everything. He hit me, didn't even break, just smashed into me. And it was like an explosion. It sounded like it's like,
Oh, wow.
that's why I can't even sit in the passenger seat of a car because I have to be in control now for some
Yeah.
reason. And like when I had my foot on the brake, the truck jumped and hit the car in front, and then he hit again trying to get away, and I was fine. I was fine. I was like, he tried to drive away, and I basically made sure he wasn't going to, and the tow truck guy drove me home. I was fine that Friday night. Then Sunday, I wake up, I'm vomiting in that, and I have this headache, and I'm like, God, this sucks. So she said it might be a concussion. We go to the hospital. Boom, it's a concussion. Then it just led to everything else, nerve damage in that, and memory loss, just everything. And
Yeah.
like I don't even remember what like from like 6 months before that. I have to be told about it, and a lot of stuff. There's a lot of spaces there that you don't remember anymore. But
Yeah.
like even coming home, going to the neurologist and everything, like he's like, because I was like telling him, I go, I can't get anything done. I'm like, I'll bring mail and I'll leave it there. I'll just
Yeah.
let it pile up. The laundry's half done. He goes, you got to pick one thing a day and that's it. He goes, you're going to
Right.
have to restart everything again because you're just forget. You're going to go around, and go, okay, I didn't do anything. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. So that was
Yeah.
all restarting. And then the rehab 4 or 5 days a week was just, it's like unbelievable, like pain every day till it got, after a while, it got to the part where it was very hard for me to walk without looking down, just in case. It was like small steps, always watching because I'm going to somehow lose my balance or hit into something, and it would be terrible. And stuff like that was like even like looking out the window. If there was snow out there with sun, I couldn't even go near a window. I had to stay in. I would just it would be unbelievable, and the migraines and that. So, it took me a long time to get stuff together where I was able to, you know, to look out there in the sun and that, and without just getting migraines all the time. Like, I mean, I was getting them like 2 times a week, and
Wow.
I never had them, and it just took a while. Like even like when I got the neck surgery, that helped so much because the
Hmm.
lady knew exactly was her job. She's a specialist, and she did an amazing job. Like where I don't really, I don't even think about it, not nothing like nothing. You would never know. Like you really can't see the scar too much, but they went through here, and
Hmm.
it's crazy. But she was amazing. What was her name? Joan something. God, I gotta remember her name because she is that good. She
Yeah.
was that good. I'm just I see I can't even remember name. See, that's another thing. I
Yeah.
call everybody buddy, brother. No, I swear to God,
No, I believe you. I can relate to you, so I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so like I know I can see them. I know their name, but
Right.
I just and I'm like, "What's up, brother?" Cuz we're going to go through this and I'm just going to look stupid about it. So, you cover for stuff. You cover for stuff that you can't remember, or I'll ask my wife stuff. And like she'll ask me a question, I go, "I don't remember." She goes, "You just say it." I go, "No, I don't remember. I
Right.
really don't." you
My
know?
epilepsy was like, it destroyed my short-term and my
Mhm.
short-term and long-term memory for years. So I feel for you when you say that. It was frustrating for me because someone will tell me something and I would
Mhm.
forget it 5 minutes later and like, I told you to go get that. I'm like, well, I don't remember, and we
Exactly.
too, it was like I knew the face, I just couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, yeah, and her name is Joan O'Shea. You see, it
Okay.
came to me. She is unbelievable. I think she's in the South Jersey, Cherry Hill, and she has another office. If you ever need like anything to do with the spine or anything like this
Yeah.
lady is the best, you know? And I was very lucky because I could have got one from another one that just sounded like you're talking about an hour and 45, no, 2 hours and 30-minute operation where this operation is 5 to 6 hours with other people, and
Right.
and it's not even close to what they do at the end. It's more, all this, all that crap, So I got lucky.
It had to be really, depressing. I know for
Mm,
me, when I got into my accident and I was experiencing a lot of pain,
mhm.
that leads to depression. That leads to frustration. I'm sure mentally it had a toll on you. How
Yeah,
did you overcome the struggles? Like, and how did it make you feel going through? Because to wake up every single day in pain, to loss of
yeah.
memory, not be able to do the things that you knew that you could do, maybe 6 months before or
Oh,
a
yeah.
year before, that had to be rough.
It was terrible because I remember, I was power washing the deck, right? And I left a power washer on the deck until I go, I'm leaving that there till I can do this again. And that might have been like 3 to 4 years later, which is
Wow.
crazy, maybe even longer. And I just left it there because I knew I had to get back to be able to do that. That was my goal, I guess,
Yeah.
to
And
come
so,
back. But the pain is ridiculous. I mean, I would stay up for 2 days and sleep for 19 hours. And
wow.
I couldn't sit, I couldn't lay down, and I couldn't stand. So enjoy your day, it was crazy. I would watch South Park all night. The dogs would stay with me because they knew I couldn't do anything. I when I
Right.
was up, we would do something, but they knew I was injured. They
Yeah.
somehow they know this stuff, but it
Yeah.
was incredible. You go through depression that is very bad, giving up so many times. You just keep giving up, and then you're like, okay, I'm back. Why am I back? Ah, now I got to do all this. Now all this is like it's a big tsunami coming over you,
Yeah.
because you can't work, you can't do anything. You got to pay this, you got to pay that, you got to take care of these bills. You got to, if you want to go see a good doctor, you're gonna take care of this and everything, and you're overwhelmed. And I was like, I told my son, I can't take it. He goes, you got it. He goes, stop it. You're tough. And then this shit, grow up, and I did. It was amazing. It really was amazing coming back a little at a time because I wasn't able to get, I didn't work for over a year. And when I did, it was like I had to step, I had to put my feet up on a speaker and just stay in that position the whole time I'm up there, lean against the wall and just stand there. Because
Mhm.
and just going up the step was like work for me to get on the stage, and people didn't even book me because they didn't want to see me like that. I've had people tell me that, and I was like, "Damn, I'm starving here," But it's not, they just don't want to see you like that, and it's
Yeah.
not good for business, I guess, either. Truthfully.
Wow, that's tough. How did you like overcome your obstacles? Like how did you get like to the point where you were able to just say, I'm gonna be strong. I'm gonna get through this, Because a lot of people they get stuck. What happens is that they become ill, they're enduring
Hmm.
pain. They just don't feel the will to want to wake up the next morning and they just don't see a purpose in life. What was your main drive? Like, what made you not want to give up and keep thriving and keep trying to, get better and find a way to overcome the pain?
Well, I mean, my wife and my kid, that was helping me a lot, and when you have people close to you, they'll tell you the truth and that stuff. And like me, I'm always giving advice, and now I can't take mine now. It's pathetic. and I was like, I knew it was going to be a slow ride back, and
Yeah.
then it was taking breaks here and there, but like now I'm enjoying it totally again. I have all movement, everything is amazing.
Oh, that's all.
Sometimes you feel like the full moon is coming. I was telling you about that. I don't care what anybody says out there. I don't want to hear you crap that the moon doesn't affect. There's people out there that are going, it happens to me too. I can feel like, the pull coming like back
Yeah.
here
Oh, for
all
sure.
around and around to the front, almost like a headache, but it's some kind of pull that it does. I don't know what kind of moon it is, but it's either it's getting there almost today and tomorrow or something like that. I know it was starting yesterday. I told my wife, I go, I
Yeah.
feel it, and she goes, "There's not even." I go, "It has to be coming. I'm telling you," and it is. It is, and it happens to me every month. It's like my period in the sky. I just don't understand it. And this is what happened. And I know a lot of people out there feel something from it, especially if you've had operations and pain. It rips you, it takes you apart. But it's only, a couple days, and then it's like you see the moon going away, and you're like, I'll see you next month. I'll be ready for you.
Oh no, it happens to me too. They actually have scientific evidence. They did studies on this because people's personalities would change around the full moon.
Yeah.
They actually did studies and people's conditions got worse when the full moon came and they
Oh
found
yeah.
is different energies. The when it's a full moon, it's stronger and the energies affect the earth and then it affects the
Oh
people in
yeah.
the
Yeah, it's like it's amazing how, like, that's why I go with the vampire thing, because I might as well, because that's what it is. It's like a full moon affects me like it's never happened to me ever before the car accident, and then I notice it more and more. And you would just think, oh, you're just having pain that day, and you look outside and you're like, okay, here it is again.
Right, right. Oh my goodness. Now, comedy can be a grueling profession. How do you
Yeah.
balance your life and your professional commitments?
My life is pretty easy, It's like I do what I want when I want, which is lucky, I'm lucky about that because now, I got gigs. I'm like, okay, that's good, that's enough, and then I got time at home. I love at home, I
Yeah,
love hanging out with the dogs and the family and just life and doing some podcasts, to me, and just have a good time. I got lucky, so I look at it as that now.
that you've been in an industry for a long time. How do you manage staying relevant and keeping your material fresh?
Well, some say too long I've been in the business, but you just, the show is about whoever's there. You know what I mean? That's what I do. It's like it's so simple for me to do. I like my mind thinks like four things when I'm on stage, and whatever happens that night. It's for those people. I'll have some
Right,
material for this or that or whatever, but it's basically let's have fun.
right,
And it's like you can come and see 3 shows on the weekend, it'll be different, There'll be some
right.
same, but a lot of different because it's about the people that are there.
I love it. Now, are any of the new comedians or trends in comedy, do you find particularly exciting? Do you see like a change in some of the way new comedians are doing things because the different age groups and the way they think differently and stuff like
Uh,
that?
well, I think the online stuff it's like, when I first started, club owners wouldn't hit you up and go, "Can you promote this?" Like, it's like I never understood that. Like, I see it helps and that stuff, yeah, but I'm not your promoter. You're the club owner. You're the booker. You're the one that should. It's like when they give you that hassle like all the time, it's a pain in the ass. Because your job is just to get booked and kill, and if you can promote, good. But they want everything every second. They watching your stuff more than they're watching their own when it comes out.
Oh, that's so true. Now,
Yeah.
looking back on your career, are there some most important lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, a lot of times keep your mouth shut because people are very soft in this business. They think they're badass, but they're not. So it's like you can't tell them they're wrong. You can't, like, they have they're too sensitive, totally. And don't let anger control you. I let that happen with Howard,
Yeah.
and I really lost it on him. And yeah, I'm totally wrong. I was at the peak of my Xanax thing, out of my mind, totally. Yeah, that was my mistake, and I apologize. Yeah, if I could apologize to him, I would. But I want him to know that truthfully, that that's all me. I totally stepped it way too far.
I think we all go through those moments. We all make mistakes in life. We all go through stuff in our life, and especially if we're using any types of medications or drugs and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. We're not the same person. We're going to react different. We're going to behave different. But that's a common thing that you see all the time. We're human,
Yeah,
and
but it's not an excuse. It's you have to know that it's wrong. You have to look back at it and know that it's wrong. You can't just go, "Well, f them." You have to realize that and you move on from that. And then, then you say, if somebody does that to you again when you're not like that, it's
yeah.
probably them. It's probably them.
Well, I gotta say, it's really it's a lot to actually admit you're wrong, in situations. So I give you kudos because a lot of people, the words "I'm sorry" or "I'm wrong" never come out of a person's mouth in their entire life. Even though they know they are. It's hard for people to admit they're wrong when they do th something wrong. So
Yeah, exactly. And I'd rather say the words "I'm wrong" than "I'm sorry," because, like, "I'm sorry" is, to me, bullshit. Because you know a kid, when growing up, you'd always say you're sorry because you did something wrong, but it was a way to get out of it. When you're saying you're wrong, you were totally taking 100% of it. You were
right,
totally wrong. I wasn't half wrong. I'm sorry. Okay, what are you sorry for? I'm sorry for what I did. Well, what did you do? It just keeps going. You know,
yeah,
it's an
yeah.
excuse. Sorry doesn't mean shit.
Oh, you're on ball, man. That's completely true. I never thought of it like that, but yeah, it's
Hmm.
when you say I'm wrong, you're taking full responsibility. You're not
Yeah,
trying to slip away and say, try to wheeze out of the situation. You're taking full responsibility and saying, you know what? I acknowledge I screwed up. I fucked up. All right, and you take responsibility for it. You learn from it and you move on. But the person,
yeah,
I think, appreciates that. I think when we do that people appreciate because people, that's sometimes what a person wants to hear. They just want to know that you recognize that you screwed up along the way.
yeah.
And they just hearing those words can make all the difference in someone's life.
Yeah, because I'm wrong means something, I am totally wrong. I'm sorry means I got caught. There's a big difference there. People say they're sorry a lot when they get caught. If they never got caught, they would never be sorry.
That's
But they,
true.
they may not be wrong if they never got caught. But being wrong is taking everything out of it. There's nothing if somebody goes, "You're sorry," and they go, "You're not sorry," and I'm like, "Well, I'm probably not because I got caught, but now I got to say I'm sorry." But if you're wrong, you're like, "You're not wrong." They're not going to say you're not wrong. You see, so it ends it right there. They can't keep coming back with it, and that's what starts an argument over. You say you're sorry, but nobody say, "I don't buy it."
Right.
So it's more of an argument. So you might as well say you're wrong, totally wrong. I suck. You're better than me.
I love it.
You know.
Now, what's next for the Reverend Bob Levy? Are there any upcoming projects or goals, or are you excited about something that might be coming up in the future?
Well, I'm just enjoying life. I'm doing some more gigs before we're going to move probably to South Carolina, and
Oh,
then
no.
I'll do more gigs out there. I'll do more podcast. My stuff online, just having fun and just enjoying life. Yeah, like some people that are still out there my age are like, I'm going to make it. No, I'm not going to. I'm just gonna have a good time. It's like I had my pop in the business with Howard and that's fine with me. That was an amazing time, and I was able to make a living doing this until now. Still, it's like, What do
Yeah,
I got to complain about? You know,
right.
do do I have to be a phony and make believe of stuff on, whatever seems good in this business to keep you going? No, it's pathetic what people do.
Yeah, it is. And it seems like you stay passionate because you're down to earth, you're grounded, and you're really starting to appreciate and have gratitude for the things around you and not thinking so much about, the glorious lifestyle of being a celebrity, but really just looking at life and just appreciating everything that you've accomplished, everything that you have now, and is that how you stay so passionate and grounded?
Well, yeah, I mean, on celebrity, I never knew I was one, and I never, you know what I mean? I never, I don't, I don't believe in any of that. It's just that I got lucky for a while and it was great. But I mean, I enjoy this. I enjoy, like, when you can make people laugh, that's like one of the greatest things in the world, like the greatest feeling. It's better than any drug out there, but drugs did help back in the day when I was having that great feeling too.
Yeah,
But it's like it's a different world. There's no drugs out there except for edibles, you know what I mean? That's going to help you with any kind of pain. There shouldn't be any pain pills around. There should be edibles and all that stuff. I truly believe that. That's another thing that changed my life. What is clean? What is clean? What is clean? Clean is you can have a drink if you can have a glass of bourbon like I do,
yeah,
and then you're done with it. You don't have to drink till you're drunk. Uh, if you can take edibles for pain and not use it to get totally high where you're crying by the curtain because you think you heard something out there or whatever. You just flip it out from that, and you feel like you got to go to the hospital and get laughed at because you're on edibles and you took too much. But it's being in control of your life. You know what I mean? And alcohol at a small thing is not going to kill you.
right.
Edibles are not going to kill you. Coke is going to kill you. Meth is going to kill you. Pain pills are going to kill you. You can go down the line, but it's up to you. People are not going to like what I'm saying, but it is. It's like some people are not made for alcohol. Some
Right.
people can't do it. It's all right if you can't do it, you
Yeah.
know? I
Um,
I I can't jump out of a plane, you know? There's
yeah.
certain things I can't do. I don't do. I don't want to do.
Right.
And, you're not good at it. If you're not good at drinking. You're
Right.
not good with drugs, you know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
you don't wanna go back. This stuff will kill you now. It's happening everywhere. Is that
Yeah.
what you want, to get a little
Right.
buzz?
You're 100% on ball for sure.
Mm,
I think, people have to realize, the problem is that a lot of times doctors are giving these prescriptions out, they get hooked
mhm.
on it, or they're just at a party, they're not feeling, they're not happy with themselves, they're not feeling good, they might be in pain, and
Yeah,
they just want to get rid of it, and sometimes it's right there in front of them, they're like, screw it, I'm going to try it. Because I know so many people that go through pain, and even myself, I was going through so much pain, I was
yeah.
desperate try anything, like I got to a
Oh,
point where
sure.
it's going to make me feel better, I'll try it, and I didn't even think twice, because living with pain, if you haven't experienced pain or chronic pain, to have
Yeah.
it consistently on an everyday basis is a very hard thing.
Yeah, and the main thing is people try this, try this, try that, but they don't try this. The
Yeah.
brain. The brain it controls everything. Like I got into a routine where I tell my wife, "Oh, my feet hurt tonight." The nerve like it was bad, and I go, "You notice how I haven't even thought about it, so it doesn't even come up to here anymore. Even if it
Yeah.
was a little bit off one
Right.
day, I don't even bring it up anymore." Because
Yeah.
I could, you know what I mean? Because she'll do that. "Oh, is it really?" Like, she heard this so many times, and it's like over and over, and I'm like, "Well, I'm just trying to tell you because because you're like she's in control of my pain, of
Yeah.
what,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know." But
Yeah.
no, you can't do that. But it's like your brain, you have to be confident that you can overcome it. And and
Yes.
and and you can to a certain amount, and there's other things you can do to get better. You know what I mean? Like even if it's like even like easy yoga, I never done that stuff, but anything like that could help you. Anything can help you, but you just want to lay there and complain. We fall into that. We
Yeah.
fall into that. It's very comfortable laying on the floor like that. We fall into it and we're like, I don't want to get up now because it's going to hurt if I try to get up a little. You have to. You have to fight. You
You
know,
got
otherwise there's no win. There's no win, and the only thing you're going to win is basically confidence back and the ability to go through life.
Oh, 100%. It's amazing everything you've gone through. You've overcome everything. You've gone through a lot in your life, and just going through all the chronic pain from the car accident and overcoming it. I got to give you kudos. Now, when it comes to the listeners, if you had to really like emphasize on some important factors that you really want them to get out of this conversation, what are some things you'd really like to like stress to the listeners listening today?
Well, basically, I mean, if any doctor's ever gonna give you pills, check around and find. Just look. You can look online and see what other people are saying. Talk to friends and that stuff because you never know what the big money maker is gonna be, you
Yeah.
know. And it's like, and another thing, these pills are just a band-aid on a hand grenade. That's all that they are. There's going to be a big explosion once, and it's going to be on you and everybody around you because it's changing everything in your brain. It's changing every mood that you ever had. Any good feelings and bad, it will deaden. It'll deaden, and then the anger will come out after a while. It will. It'll all be hidden for a while, but your happiness will go away.
Oh, for sure. I love that. I love that. Now, where can people find you?
I'll be sitting here. I don't do much. I'll be in the yard. Sometimes I bring the garbage out once a week. I go on the road. Like I don't know when this is coming on, but I'll be on at Uncle Vinny's next Wednesday and Thursday, the 16th and 17th, in lovely Point Pleasant, New Jersey. I love that club. And then I have a podcast called Levyverse that it's a station on YouTube. I started doing that about a year ago. Do my own stuff and just have fun. No more, I just want to have laughs and bust balls and all that. And I go on like almost every day and that stuff. My wife comes on with me some shows, and boy, she's good at ripping me apart, but we have a good time, and I got some guests on. It's fun. It's just having fun, man. That's what it's all about.
That's all what it's about. We have one life here. We got to enjoy it and live life to the fullest. And you're definitely a true example of a person who has a lot of resilience. You've accomplished a lot in life, and I got to give you kudos because you've done so much, and you really have been able to like really put your life back in perspective. And then you had the accident, and you were able to overcome the pain. And now you're back on track and you're just enjoying life. You come to that point in life where you realize what's important and what's not.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, it's so right. Sometimes you get kicked in the face. Okay, sometimes you get kicked in the face another 5 times, but
yeah,
that's the whole thing. It's like it'll come around. It'll come around again, you know what I mean? But positive thinking is going to do that. It's not gonna be by bitching and moaning, because it doesn't work that way. It definitely doesn't. I've tried both ways, and,
right.
even though I love pissing and moaning, it never worked out for me.
That's so true. I think positive thinking is really powerful. I think that's what
Mhm.
saved me in my life is just like every negative thing that happened, I pulled out something positive from it and I just focused on the positive. And I think that's what got me through life and got me through the tough times in life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It'll do it. It'll totally do it if you do it that way.
100%. Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, Bob, this has been great. Reverend Bob Levy, you are, and not only are you an amazing comedian, but you're just a wonderful person, and you have,
Some will
such
argue.
what?
Some people would argue that point.
Well, I think you are.
I'm just very stubborn sometimes, you
Mm,
know? But
yeah.
I try to, you know what I mean? I do it by trying to help, by being stubborn sometimes. Some people don't, people some here's another thing. Some people don't realize that, by blowing smoke up their ass all the time, that doesn't set you on where you're supposed to be.
Yes, that's so
That's the
true.
whole thing.
I've realized too is like sometimes like we try to give advice to the people we care about because we're trying to set them straight or let them see the light. And if someone
Mhm.
doesn't want to see the light, they're not going to see the light. You can say whatever you want. You can blow up as
Mhm.
much smoke up their ass as you want, but
Yeah.
they're not gonna budge if they don't want to change.
No, and that's the whole thing, man. Like you're not going to get clean on anything if you don't want to do it yourself. You can't
Right.
do it for somebody else,
No,
but
you
you'll be
definitely
back,
can.
no doubt.
This has been great. I thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being on the show, and I really enjoyed this. And I hope you'll be back and we could talk
Oh,
some more.
definitely.
Yeah, I really,
Absolutely. This was very nice. It was nice to be able to talk about it, and just in case it hooks somebody that can do something to go forward.
I think it will because there is such a huge amount of people in our worldwide that suffer
Yeah.
from pain. And they just, they have communities where, they have high suicidal rates,
Oh,
high
yeah.
depression rates, people just don't know how to deal with pain because, it's tough. Everyone has a different pain tolerance level. Some people can tolerate pain, some people can't tolerate pain. But then, if you're waking up every single morning, like we talked about earlier,
Mhm.
and feeling this pain all the time and you're having a hard time rolling out of bed, you're having a hard time sitting, you're having a hard time
Yeah.
bending, can't even wash yourself in the shower. It's like, what's life? Why am I living this life? What's the purpose? And that's what goes through a lot of people's heads.
Oh,
And
yeah, and even today when I'll get up in a chair and I'll be like, "Oh," and my wife will be, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm used to making that noise, and it's weird because that's what I'm saying. You have to control your mind. Is just like it's replaying what you're used to, and
yeah,
I make noises for no reason because I used to when I was in pain.
right, right. Yeah. And that happens a lot to people. And it's just
Yeah,
we're triggered like that. It's just breaking the cycle. It's just the same, like if a person gets glasses and they live with eye surgery, a lot of people will go like this even when they're not wearing glasses because they're so used to
exactly.
wearing glasses, you know what I mean? But
Exactly. But thank
yeah.
you for having me. This was great. This was great. I enjoy talking about this, and you're very good at this. You're very good.
Thank you so much. And you were a great interviewer. I really enjoyed talking to you and your message was outstanding. And I like you as a person and I really
Thank
admire everything that you've gone through and have accomplished. So thank
same
you so much.
same to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is what it's about. It's about showing that it can happen. And no matter what, no matter how bad it gets, it can get better. It can
Yes.
get back somehow. Somehow something will, you know what I mean? It'll click after a while. But once you give up, you're always restarting. And if you're restarting, you're never going to get to the finish line.
Oh, 100%. That's an amazing, way of looking at it because it's true.
Mm,
It's so true. You have to
yeah.
just, if you think about anything in life, when you went through obstacles, you always got through it. But during
Yeah.
that time, you felt like you were in the worst crisis ever. But then
Yeah.
you look at yourself and you're like, wait, I got through that. I got through that. I got through that. Well, if you got through all those things, you're gonna get through this, is
Exactly. It's like being a Jet fan. Like, I have friends that are Jet fans, and it's like they have to go through this every year, and I don't know how to live like that. You know, but every year they're like, "Oh, I want to know. We're gonna be good." It's just never. Sorry.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, this has been great, Bob. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this time. You're awesome. You really are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you
definitely.
so much. I don't even know how to get out of this room. I don't know how. I'm like in that. We'll figure it out.
We'll
Thank you
figure-
so much. Good seeing you. We'll see you soon.
All righty. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.